Welcome to this short video on indirect health impacts of heat. We distinguish between direct and indirect health impacts. And what the indirect health impacts of heat are, I will show you in the next two slides. We use this figure both this week and next week as a sort of guideline, because this figure illustrates very nicely how heat and health are related. We distinguish between direct and indirect health impacts. Potentially more consequential in terms of the number of people affected is the damage to the ecological systems and services on which society depends, which can alter the availability of critical resources, thus having indirect effects on human health. These include the energy infrastructure or changes in the quantity and availability of food and water resources. I will explain it to you in the next slide. I will illustrate the indirect health impacts in 3 bullets, like disruption of the infrastructure, impact of the health system, and increased chance of incidents. Now, the disruption of the infrastructure, how can that be illustrated? There may be difficulties in transportation, that it may be too warm to ride, like public transportation, or cooling the engine may be difficult, so people cannot get anywhere, or more difficult in using a reduced transport system. But it will also be difficult to get stuff, groceries, or other supplies to places, which also may cause difficulties. But also think about the energy consuming cooling systems like houses, factories, shops, offices. It's not very healthy, of course, to work in an environment where it's too hot, but it's also not very healthy to work in an environment that is cooled, for example, with air conditioning. When the energy is used for the cooling system, it cannot be used for other issues, so that may also cause difficulties. What to think about that heat extremes directly affect crop productivity, so there may be less food produced, and that may also affect the well-being and human dietary as well as health patterns, and potentially also create food security problems. So there is not enough food for people, or not the food that they need to. And what to think about less water, or water that may be polluted, wildfires caused by heat, reduced air quality. So there's quite some things going on. If I look to the impact on the health system, of course, there are more people getting to the hospitals due to heat-related illnesses or diseases even. We talk about that next week. But we have also more ambulances going in. But they may also have difficulties in riding due to infrastructural problems, which I just explained. And the hospital itself is also an energy consuming system which needs to be air conditioned. And if there is less energy, it may also harm the condition which is needed in the hospital. Then lastly, we have, of course, also incidents due to people seeking cool places, people who swim in water that is not safe, people who swim in water but they are not able to swim, people who work outside who are harmed by the weather. So it's quite some things which happen due to the fact that heat is around. Now, if you think this is interesting, but I need to get more into this issue, I can recommend you to read the articles as provided in this e-learning that give you with some more background information. Thank you for listening.